We fear mistakes as if they end us, but what if they're the very thing that grows us? In a quiet village, nestled at the edge of a great forest, where the dawn broke with rooster calls and the nights echoed with crickets, there lived an old wise man. His beard was long and silver, his steps slow but steady, and his eyes carried the weight of many seasons. He was not rich, not powerful, but people traveled from faraway places to seek his guidance. His words, simple yet profound, carried a wisdom born not from books alone, but from a lifetime of observation and reflection. One morning, as the old man walked toward the river to fetch water, he noticed something unusual. By the bank, under a cluster of reeds, lay a small fox. Its fur was tangled and dirty, its paw swollen from a wound, and its eyes, usually sharp and alert, were dim with pain. The villagers often spoke harshly of foxes. "They are cunning," they said, "thieves, tricksters, not to be trusted." Most people would have chased it away with stones. But the wise man did not see just a fox. He saw a creature struggling to survive, much like humans do when they falter. He set down his pot, crouched beside the animal, and spoke softly. "Why do you hide your pain, little one? Even mistakes and wounds carry lessons. They are not the end of your story." The fox growled weakly, as though unsure whether this human could be trusted, but it was too tired to run. The old man, without fear, scooped it gently into a sack and carried it back to his hut. For days he cleaned the wound, gave it food scraps, and let it rest on a straw mat near the fire. The fox slowly regained strength. But then, one evening, something happened. The old man had left a basket of grain and fruit by the door. While he worked, the fox, hungry and restless, tried to steal from it. In its haste, it knocked over the basket, spilled the grain, and toppled the water pot, flooding the floor. The noise startled the man. He turned, saw the mess, and for a moment, the fox cowered, expecting anger. But the old man only smiled gently. He cleaned the floor and said, "Mistakes are not sins, little fox. They are mirrors. What matters is not whether you fall, but whether you rise wiser than before." The fox tilted its head. Though it could not understand every word, it felt the calm tone, the absence of anger. Something in its heart shifted. The next day, the old man took the fox with him into the forest. They stopped by a great oak tree, scarred and bent. Its trunk bore the mark of lightning, a jagged scar running down its length. "Do you see this tree?" the man asked, touching the bark. "Once it was struck by lightning, burned, broken. Many thought it would die. But look, though scarred, it grew again. Crooked, yes, but strong. The forest does not laugh at its scars. It honors them because they tell a story of survival." The fox sat quietly, staring. It seemed to understand. That night, as the old man ate, the fox once again felt the urge to steal food, but it hesitated, remembering the mess from before. Instead, it sat near the man, waiting. The old man noticed. With a smile, he offered the fox a piece of bread. "You see," he whispered, "when you learn, you grow. A mistake repeated is a chain. A mistake learned from is a key." Days turned to weeks. The fox grew stronger, its fur shining once more. It learned to hunt carefully, to watch, to adapt. When it stumbled, chasing prey too quickly, slipping into the river, or venturing too close to danger, it did not despair. It remembered the old man's words. Slowly, its mistakes became lessons, its failures stepping stones. One evening, the villagers came rushing to the old man's hut. "Grandfather," they cried, "a pack of wolves is stealing our chickens. We have tried traps and fences, but they are too clever. What should we do?" The old man listened quietly, stroking his beard. Then he turned his gaze toward the fox sitting by the doorway. The villagers gasped. "This animal? A fox? Surely not," they protested. "Foxes are sly and untrustworthy." The old man shook his head. "Even those you doubt can teach you something if they have learned from their mistakes." That night, under the moon's watchful eye, the old man released the fox. Swift and cautious, it darted through the shadows. The villagers waited nervously, whispering their doubts. But soon they heard snarls and yelps echoing from the forest. The fox, clever from its past stumbles, outwitted the wolves, drawing them away, leading them deep into the woods where they could no longer harm the village. By dawn, the chickens were safe, the wolves were gone, and the villagers stood in awe. "How is this possible?" they asked. The old man smiled. The fox was not born wise. It stumbled, it failed, it erred. But each mistake taught it something new. What you see today is not cunning, it is growth. The villagers lowered their heads, ashamed. For years they had mocked and mistrusted the creature. Now they saw what the old man had always seen: potential. Seasons turned. The fox became the old man's companion, following him through forests, sitting beside him at the river, resting at his feet during village gatherings. Children grew curious. They would ask the wise man, "Grandfather, how do we succeed in life? How do we become strong like you, like the fox?" And the old man would answer, with patience, "Do not fear mistakes. Fear only the refusal to learn. Every scar on the fox, every wrinkle on my face, every broken branch in this forest, each is proof that growth comes not from perfection, but from persistence. Fall, rise, and walk again. That is the secret of growth." The children listened with wide eyes, stroking the fox's fur. They no longer saw it as sly or untrustworthy. They saw it as a survivor, a teacher. Years passed. The old man grew older, his steps slower, his voice softer, yet his wisdom remained sharp. The fox, too, bore new scars: a torn ear from a fight, scratches from hunts, but its eyes were brighter, its movements wiser. Together, they became symbols of resilience. The villagers, once suspicious, began to honor the fox. They told stories of how it saved their chickens, how it grew from a wounded thief into a guardian. Parents told their children, "Teach as the fox did. Do not be ashamed of mistakes. Use them to grow." The old man would sit by the fire at night, looking at his companion, and whisper, "You and I, little one, are not so different. We are both learners in this great forest of life. Every failure is a teacher, every scar a chapter, and in the end, those who learn become wise." Mistakes are not the end, they are beginnings. Each failure carries a hidden gift, the chance to grow stronger, wiser, and braver. If this story touched you, remember, your mistakes are your teachers. Keep learning, keep growing. Subscribe to Life Lessons Library for more stories that guide your heart and soul.